All right. So, has anyone heard that saying, tragedy plus time equals comedy? Man, I love that because it's so optimistic, right? All this bad shit, it's going to be gold one day. And I'm 43, and so I'm thinking that, my college dating life, it might just now be ripe. It might be time to harvest, the harvest of shame for your amusement. So, any married people, long-term relationships, anyone ever get nostalgic for being single? No, right? Not me. I know. I see kids out and I see they don't date anymore because it's rough out there. I'm a doctor. I was seeing a patient and she told me that there was this guy who was interested in her. Okay? And she said, I have a boyfriend. I'm not interested. And he didn't want to hear that. So they had this whole back and forth. It kept going and it ramped up till he said, if I can't have you, no one can. Stab, stab, stab. And he stabbed her in the side, right? Talk about a body count. But, that's horrific, right? This is attempted murder. And she was laughing when she told me this story. Because tragedy plus time equals comedy, So, take a walk down memory lane. So I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, but I moved to New York City to go to college because I was so excited to stop being a nobody in the desert to be a nothing in the big city, right? And I was brainy and awkward and, not confident. And so a lot of things, just like a lot of people that are insecure, you gravitate towards things that make you feel better about yourself. And what I found made me feel better was telling other people what they should think, right? So I became this big campus activist. One time I went down to Washington, D.C. to protest. The government was bombing some country in the Middle East. And I was young and naive. I didn't realize that's just what we do here, right? Like in Europe, people go to college for free. That's good for them. But we take on massive debt so that we can bomb schools in other countries. Yeah. And, you just got to wait. That's gonna be hilarious later. So, anyway. The important part of that story is not some bullshit political argument we're going to have later. The important part of that story is that there was a girl at the protest also. Pale blue eyes, dark hair, porcelain skin. She had freckles across the bridge of her perfect nose. She was gorgeous. She's the most beautiful person I'd ever seen in real life. And she wasn't just beautiful, she was smart. She spoke 3 languages. She was well-read. She had a passion for social justice. And so I did what young men have always done when they're intimidated by a beautiful woman. I assumed she was a lesbian. And, I really did because I didn't know how to talk to women because I grew up as a fat kid. And things are different now. All people are so body positive. That's great for you now. But in the 90s, it was different. You could be throwing rocks at a fat kid's head, just throwing rocks at his head. And if they caught you doing that on camera, Bob Saget would give you $10,000. No, it's true. So imagine my surprise when I met her a week later at my friend's Big Lebowski party. And I love the Big Lebowski, right? There's a certain subset of nerds, maybe a few in this room, that can quote Lebowski chapter and verse, right? You can do it verbatim. And we, according to my wife, are the worst, right? Worse than people that do impressions. But sometimes there's a man. Yes, sometimes there's a man. I'm not going to say a hero, because what is a hero? But sometimes there's a man. And he's the man for that time and place. He just fits right in there. And that's how I found myself missing the entire movie because I was on the balcony talking to this girl the entire night. Yeah, that's how it started. And it was going great, right? We would talk late into the night. I would make her laugh. Sometimes I'd make her make other noises as well. You know what I mean? Right? And it's not a great joke, but if you have eyebrows like these, you got to try to put them in your act. Like, is that it? Anyway, so So it was going well, and we got to this point, a bunch of my friends wanted to move in together into a communal house in Brooklyn. What could go wrong? So it provided the opportunity for us to move in together. And I don't know if she brought it up first or if I did, but what I do remember is that I couldn't believe my luck, right? Because I was living the classic New York love story, right? Like, boy moves to the big city, he meets a pretty girl, she sweeps him off his feet, and the rest is history. You know, I couldn't believe that I was the main character of this story, you know? But, you know, the plan to move in together, almost as soon as it was formed, it started to fall apart. Yeah, she got more distant. I got more desperate, if I'm being honest. And then I found out that she had met with her ex-boyfriend, the one who broke her heart. Yeah. Just as friends, you know, of course, just as friends. And then she went back to Switzerland to hang out with all the other beautiful Swiss people over the holidays. And I went back to the desert with all the desert rats. And I thought to myself, I got to do something, right? Like, fortune favors the bold. I got to do something. So I decided I would surprise her at the airport. You know, and the surprise was she was not excited to see me. She broke up with me that night. And what that meant is that the first woman I lived with on my own was my ex-girlfriend. But I'm an optimistic guy, so I thought I could fix this, I could make it work. And so my roommates would say, like, hey, do you want to switch rooms? You know, I know this is awkward. I was like, no, I'm going to fix it. It's going to be all right. And she would say the same thing. And I know now, right, that was pity, obviously, right? She was just trying to let me down easy because women are kind. But at the time I took that, that gave me hope. And it was a small room. You know, we had a small room, and so you couldn't put two beds in there. The only way you could put them in is to sort of set them head to head. You know, I guess we could have slept toe to toe, but we did head to head because I'm an idiot. You know, and so I worked at a coffee shop at the time. I had to wake up really early in the morning to open. And so I'd always wake up first, and sometimes I'd wake up and her hair would be on my shoulder, and it would smell like her. And I would just have to get up and put on my clothes and trudge out in the dark to the subway. And I want you to know I didn't cry, guys. I got more respect than that. I wasn't crying, but I was sniffling a few times. I was sniffling on my way to the subway, and I saw this big mural of Stevie Wonder, and it said, "Did you know a true love asks nothing in return?" And I was like, all right, Stevie, we're going to do this. We're going to fix this. And after 6 horrible months of asking nothing in return, she decided to move out. And I was like, thanks for nothing, Stevie. It really was the blind leading the blind. So, you know, the other job I had was I was a mover, right? So my friend Elon, he had a band, he's a musician, so he's got a van. So we were man with the van movers. He'd get jobs on Craigslist, he'd hire me. We'd move people out of a 3rd floor walk-up and into a 4th floor walk-up. And I would just be moving someone's mattress in the middle of the summer, just sweating all over their stuff. And they would just look horrified, because I'm a sweater, okay? I'm wearing a black shirt, not to be stylish, this is camouflage. And so when she decided to move out, I said, Elon, can I borrow the van? I want to move her out because I want her to know how generous I am. I want her to know how thoughtful I can be. I want to know how much integrity I have. Because I was hoping she would think, maybe I want to have sex with people with integrity. But it didn't go as planned. You know, moving her out, that would have just been pathetic. The problem was, what made it tragic was who I was moving in, right? I was moving in her new roommate, the ex-boyfriend, the one that broke her heart. See, and that's when I knew that I was doomed from the start. Because I thought I was the main character in this story, but I was just the rebound guy, right? I was just a blip in her New York love story. You know, girl goes to the big city, meets a charming man, you know, he breaks her heart. After they're done hanging out with a bunch of losers, they realize they're perfect for each other, and they get back together. And that hurt, you know, that hurt to realize that I was Billy Zane from Titanic. Who? Exactly, right? It's exactly my point. But it felt a little better when I found out they got married. You know, good for them. You know, they made it honest. And it felt even better when I found out they got divorced. Because if I can't have you... All right. Night, everyone.